I'd like to call to order the Charter Township of Oxford Board of Trustees regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, July 11th, 2018. The time is 7:02. Please pay respects to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please note the roll.
Noted.
Move on to the agenda. Any corrections?
Curtis has a bunch, so I'd rather him kind of go through them all.
Go, Curtis.
Okay, on the agenda, proposal to amend the agenda by removing item 11C under new business, Red Barn Well Site / quit claim deed, and to add 2 items to the new business, being, we'll call that new item 11F, Regional Transportation Authority resolution, and add item 11G, BSNA online public records search proposal.
Chris, you also want to delete 10B as well, right?
We're leaving 10A on the agenda.
Oh, we are leaving 10A on?
For the time being, yes.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the amendments.
Support?
Moved and supported. Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Wait a minute.
Hold on, guys. We're gonna.
Agenda.
Yeah, it's not a consent agenda.
The amended.
It's the amended agenda.
Is that what I said? Consent agenda?
No, the motion was consent agenda.
Okay,
So
I
you
make
need
a
to amend-
motion, I'll revise the motion
To be
to amend the agenda.
the agenda? Okay.
Approve the amended agenda.
Resport?
I re-support.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks for catching that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? None? Roll call?
Trustee Nichols?
Yes.
Trustee Durr?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Curtis?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes, and Supervisor Dunn.
Yes. First reading of the proposed ordinance 40, public comment on items not on the agenda. Mr. Davis, I know you got something.
Yeah, I just want to bring the board up to date where we're at with the senior center / cable. We're planning on being in front of the planning commission July 26th with our plans for the senior center, the cable building, the ice skating rink, the picnic shelter, and the concession stand. So to say it's going to be a busy fall for our department is an understatement. So we'll keep you up to date as we go on that. Speaking of undertaking, as you know, this last week we had a small event at the park. I certainly want to thank Pete, Fire Chief Schultz, for his staff and crew being out there, Lieutenant Patterson, all of our reserves, and certainly Pat Payne, who rescheduled his day to come out and do a electrical inspection for us. So if you see any of these 3, I would ask that you thank them. And lastly, this is the 3rd or 4th year this individual's done this. Sunday morning is not the best day for my staff after working so many hours, but Bill Dunn's there every Sunday morning at 7:30 helping us work. And Bill, it means a lot to the staff. So I know to you it's just showing up, but when our staff sees elected officials certainly and community leaders coming out and helping, it really charges their battery. So don't ever think we take it for granted. So we appreciate that. I know Jack wanted to be out, but he couldn't be because of some medical issues. But any of you guys, I challenge any of you, if you want to come out and give back, it really resonates with my staff to see elected officials come out and just walk beside them and help them after the 4-day event. Next year, it's June 27, 28, and 29. And then 2020, believe it or not, the Carnival Company is trying to kill us. It'll be June 11, 12, 13, and 14. So for some reason, they think they want to do 4 days. So if you'd like to come out next year and volunteer, we'd love to have you. And then last night, we had a little appreciation. I want to thank Elgin for showing up, and Curtis and Margie. Again, that's a nice representation to our department when our elected officials come out and just mingle with them so they know what we do is important, not just to the Parks and Rec Commission, but to you elected officials as well. So thanks for coming out to that, and tomorrow night's our first pop-up in the park. Can't tell you where it's at, but if you go to our website, you'll get a pretty good idea.
Got the email.
You got the email? So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda?
Yes,
Jim?
and I gave.
That's right.
Okay, Jim.
All right. Well, good evening, Supervisor Dunn and members of the board. Jim Tedder, and as many of you likely know, candidate for the state senate in the 12th Senate District, which would represent Oxford and Oxford Township, much of northeast Oakland County, all the way down to 12.5 Mile, and currently serve as the state representative in the 43rd District, which includes Clarkson, Independence, Lake Angeles, and Waterford. And over the last several months have really enjoyed going door to door throughout the greater Oxford community, and seen many of you at various events throughout those months. And so I just wanted to come before you and before the community and those that be perhaps watching later at home that while you can, I encourage you to go to my website, learn a little bit more about my policy and my priorities. You can learn more about that at betterwithtedder.com. That's TEDDER.com, betterwithtedder.com. And you're also welcome to reach out to through my cell phone, which is 248-343-5941. I feel direct communication and direct question and answer is a great way to get to know who I am. But three fundamental things. I pride myself on transparency, and I've been received accolades and awards for my transparency and access to my constituents. I also believe that the government that serves best is the government closest to home, and I have great confidence and respect for our local governments, not only as a current representative, but certainly committed to that as your future senator. And I know we're only about 4 Tuesdays away from that election, and time certainly does fly when you're out having fun out on the campaign trail. And lastly, I've been a lifetime North Oakland County resident. I spent many of my adolescent years, in fact, my weekends here in Oxford Township, as my parents had some very dear friends. I caught my first fish on Tan Lake and learned to water ski behind a inboard outboard right here on across the road on Clear Lake. So certainly a place that with a lot of fond memories, and I look forward to serving you as your next state senator, and be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
There is no questions. You're just making a comment.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks for your time. I
Thank you very much, Jim.
All right, you bet.
And good luck. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Supervisor and members of the board, my name is Susan Montgomery, and I am president of the Manitou Lake Improvement Association. I'm here with some other members of our lake, people that have an interest in the new development that will be going in. And if I may, I'd like to read a statement. As we have previously advised, the residents of Lake Manitou, we have concerns with the Hills of Manitou development under consideration by the Charter Township of Oxford. Our concerns regarding the Hills of Manitou development are basically the same as those with the settlement of Manitou that was developed by Clearview LLC on our lake. They are both single-family condominiums with lake views of our lake that include vital wetland along the shoreline. Manitou Lake is a very small lake. It's 109 acres and supports a very abundant fish population. We have pike, perch, small and largemouth bass, bluegills, and crappies. Unlike many such lakes, the balance between these large and small predator species seems to be in sync, so that there are very few stunted species. It is noteworthy that this balance is naturally occurring since there's no active management of the lake by the relevant administrations. The underwater population likewise seems to include a number of aquatic turtles, including softshell and snapper. Its islands and wetlands are home to a variety of ducks, diving birds, as well as swans, sandhill cranes, great blue herons, and egrets. Our lake is a much-needed stopover during the migration season for many migrating species, including loons and buffalo heads. Manitou settlement, the property owners in the completed settlement of Manitou have constructed docks through the wetlands of our lake, removed trees from the wetlands as well as submerged stumps from the lake bed, and routinely store watercraft on the wetlands. The master deed of this development that's on file with the Oakland County Register of Deeds in Pontiac, Michigan, addresses wetlands in Article 8, Section 8. Wetland areas, Section 8. Certain portions of the condominium, including certain unit areas, have been designated as wetlands, as shown on the condominium subdivision plan. The wetlands are not to be disturbed either by fill, clearing of trees, or construction of any improvements without prior approval of Oxford Township. On November 6, 2017, Andrew J. Hartz of the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, the DEQ, in an email string regarding these developments confirmed, the DEQ has not been approached, nor are we currently processing a permit request for this project. This is consistent with our understanding of the circumstances for both of these developments, as advised during conversation with DEQ employees responsible for such matters, including Susan Tapati and John Jones. Nor, to our knowledge, has the township issued any such permits for either development. Oxford Township Wetlands Protection Ordinance 80B, Section 22, and this was ordinance number 107 in effect at the time of when I initiated my complaints, has not been enforced on existing docks through the settlement of Manitou wetlands by the residents. Efforts to report wetland violations to the township began more than 2 years ago with a variety of communications with relevant township officials. As early as March 2017, a conversation with your offices advised me that Oxford permits were not issued and that our organization needed to approach the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. More recently, on the advice of your offices, in March of this year, a complaint was filed for submission to Mr. Jim Latola, the enforcement officer here, asking for a review of the dock structures and other wetland violation. These efforts were rebuffed with polite statements that the officer had no authority to enter onto the property and concomitant township inaction. So that leads us to Manitou Hills. The general site plan for Manitou Hills includes a proposed 20-foot wide wetland conservation access. I've also seen documents refer to it as a general common buffer that would lead to the wetlands of our lake. The Charter Township of Oxford Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 10.3, Section B, identifies the natural feature setback of 25 feet from ordinary high water mark of a watercourse. It's our view that any access to Manitou Lake for the residents of Manitou Hills is likely to generate additional dockage, as well as other wetland violations. Inasmuch as Oxford Township Wetlands Protection Ordinance 80B, Section 22, again, Ordinance 107 at the time of our complaints, has not been enforced on existing docks through the settlement of Manitou wetlands by the residents. The site plan identifies also a stormwater detention facility with its corresponding proposed storm with sewer outlet depositing into Manitou Lake. This is very concerning to us since the amount of treatment or cleaning of water is limited and the health of our lake and its wildlife depends on maintaining clean water. The settlement of Manitou also has a storm sewer detention outlet for their 31 homes that empties into Lake Manitou. We're wondering, are there alternative methods for dealing with this that will ensure the water quality of our lake is not compromised? Inasmuch as Oxford Township Wetlands Protection Ordinance 80B, Section 22, again, Ordinance 107 at the time of our initial complaints, has not been enforced on existing docks through the settlement of Manitou wetlands by their residents, it is our view that these proposals will have a negative impact on our lake and should not be made without prior approval and the issuance of appropriate permit from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. Since the existing Manitou settlement remains non-compliant, we're very much concerned that the impact of a second non-compliant multi-resident community will result in dockage on our lake for the 20 homes and destroy the quality of our lake, possibly destroying the wetlands. As an organization interested in preserving the natural beauty of our lake and the delicate ecostructure it represents, we have the following questions. Has an environmental impact study been conducted to determine the impact of these households accessing the lake? Next, has the Oxford Township engineer factored the considerations noted in this document in his study of the Manitou Hills development? Next, could you give us assurances that the Township Enforcement Officer will enforce wetland protection ordinances on Lake Manitou? And then, when will the Planning Commission, we would be interested to know, meet to consider any further actions respecting the proposed new development? And finally, if there are no other feasible methods for storm sewer detention, perhaps does this site plan accommodate too many households? Manitou Lake is a small, private lake with abundant wildlife and a breeding ground for a wide variety of wildlife and plant life. Our association has a top priority in preserving the natural beauty found on our lake, as I'm sure you all have concerns about Oxford in general with the natural beauty found in our area. And thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Any other public comment on items not on the agenda? I will make a statement, though. I don't believe this development is on the boards. I don't think it's come. We're not going to talk back and forth. This is, I believe, a Planning Commission issue. And if you would like, everybody can get a hold of the clerk, Clerk Wright, and he can notify everyone when this development comes to the Planning Commission. You'll get all the information that we get, and all your questions should be answered there. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Moving forward. Thank you for coming. First reading, proposed ordinance 44.001, peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchants. Any questions on this? Would there be a motion?
Just a comment.
Yes, comment down there?
Yeah, I went through the information for the possible ordinance, and the question I have is concerning political. I didn't see anything in there about people approaching from a political standpoint.
Okay.
Question is...
Those are exempt, those are religious.
They are exempt.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, for the most part, I think most solicitation is exempt. There's no way we can stop it. All we can do is make them come in, register with the township, and have a letter from us, I believe. Joe?
Everybody knows how I feel about this. I mean, we have complaints all the time about solicitors coming into our community. I just had one today. They come in unmarked, unregistered. I mean, we've had it in my neighborhood. They come at 7 in the morning. They don't leave when you tell them to leave. Our current ordinance right now doesn't allow it at all. There's always that argument of, well, they'll take you to court. My argument's always been, so what? I mean, they can take you to court. Let them take you to court. We got to balance our rights of our residents for their privacy versus these solicitors' rights to bother them at 10 o'clock at night. To me, if they want to be invited, our residents invite them in, more than welcome, show up. But just come knocking on my door. I mean, this was really disturbing. I've got a 2.5-year-old. I had a solicitor come to my door. My wife had the baby and asked the baby, "What's your name, son?" Really? Asking my baby what their name is? I kept it together. just barely. I mean, I don't know what this guy was doing. My little Billy could have been out there and could have said, "Hey, Alex, come over here. I got something for you. Remember me?" Yeah, no, I don't want any part of that. If these companies are going to sue me, sue me. I have no problem with that whatsoever.
You don't want a First Amendment violation?
I have no problem with it.
Well,
we've been sued before. Our residents' privacy is more important.
Yeah, within the ordinance, within the registration, it does require a form. So I would suggest we bring the form to the second meeting if this moves forward to make sure the board's comfortable with that form.
And Ron, you had your hand up.
Yeah, we were approached Saturday at Seymour Celebration by someone who wanted to collect signatures for fracking, and I adamantly said absolutely not. So I don't know if you can incorporate this into Park Rule Chapter 34, so it would cover us as well.
Registration, that type of thing.
Because we get inundated all the time. We did it in the past, but we made them stand in a specific area, but it's still an inconvenience for the people just coming to the park to enjoy the day. So if you could find it to maybe attach that to ours so we could enforce that at the public parks, that'd be great as well.
Joe, unfortunately, the people that, want to take us to court probably have more money than anyone. There were people like Charter Communications, all these others wanting to go around. We've been told by our attorney that we're violating their their First Amendment right. Now we have to do something. This is the best thing we can do right now.
I think our residents' right to privacy is more important.
Thank you. Is there a motion to move it on to the second reading?
I move to set a second reading and possible adoption to amend Section 38-81 of the Oxford Charter Township Code of Ordinances to be considered at the August 8th, 2018 Oxford Township Board of Trustees regular meeting.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. I'm going to take a second to allow anyone that would like to leave. We'll give you a couple minutes, unless you'd like to sit through the rest of this meeting. I'll give everybody a chance, if a couple minutes if they want to leave now. If not, you can stick around. We got some exciting stuff coming up. I know how to clear a room.
You sure do.
What a skill set.
That's why he gets the big bucks.
Okay, folks, we're now back in session. Let's move on to the second reading, proposed ordinance 56.007, park hours and use.
I move to adopt ordinance 56.007 to amend Section 34-33, park hours and use of Oxford Charter Township Code of Ordinances as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. It basically says the parks will be open from sunset to sunrise to sunset. Correct, Ron?
Correct. Sunrise to sunset.
Well, or vice versa. Okay, let's do a roll call.
Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Dur.
Yes.
Trustee Nichols.
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn.
Yes. Moving on to the revised contract for Kelly Kilgore and the Charter Township of Oxford. Chief.
Evening, Board. At the June meeting, you approved the signing of the MOA with the bargaining unit, which as a result of that, the recruitment retention specialist has been reclassified as a non-uniformed position. This clarifies his responsibilities of that he is not a firefighter or EMT during his daily hours when he's working as a recruitment retention officer. With this, we're looking to reclassify it also as an exempt salaried employee, and this clearly states that he is a straight salary with no expectation of overtime. And with that, then he is also then allowed to work as a paid-on-call firefighter EMT after hours on his own time, because it's a completely different job. He doesn't do the exact same jobs, falls in lines with our current financial officer administrator's position doing the exact same thing. So the new contract is included. One thing in there that was an oversight when we first put this together, so I wanted to clarify with you. On the second page, under 7C, the new part of it reads that an employee shall be provided his attire appropriate for the position. And additionally, the fire department will provide for his cleaning services. That part of it has been changed, so that it takes out the part in there from the original one where I mentioned his uniform and the uniform allowance.
Any other questions on this contract? Would there be a motion?
I move to approve the revised contract between Kelly Kilgore, the Charter Township of Oxford, authorize Supervisor William Dunn to sign the contract on behalf of the Charter Township of Oxford.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any other questions? Roll call.
Trustee Dare.
Yes.
Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Nichols.
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. And Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. And also an update, our drone did come in. We do have that now. 6 of our employees did finish up their 2-day class of pilot training and flight operations for that. Our COA has been filed with the FAA, so we're waiting on approval for that, and as soon as that gets done, we'll be up and flying then. So thank you very much.
Do you have everything with that, Chief? I'm talking about the ability to go after, to see if bodies or people are in a building?
We can use it for
infrared type
the thermal imaging camera portion of it is not delivered yet. We expect that to be delivered next week, and with that, then you can even be used outside for finding lost people out in the fields or in swamps or around the lakes and everything. In the fires, and also we can use it to look through a building. You can actually see where the heat is in the building, the hottest part of it, and definitely the bodies are on the ground and walking around and everything else. We can see what's going on. So
could you find a
great
pony?
Tool. We probably could have helped with it, yes.
Did anybody find the pony?
I was advised today that they did find it.
They did find it? They did not.
They did find it.
They did.
Deceased.
Deceased.
Oh, well, that's too bad. Sorry. Thanks, Chief. Let's move on. On to the employee handbook. Jack, do you want to say anything on this, or?
Well, I kind of started going through the handbook and noticed about 5 or 6 things that I don't think had a look over, if you will, by any committee or trustees or elected officials. And it covered all the FLSA, it covered a lot of the employment, equal rights and all those kind of things. But some of the tiny things that affect everyday business has not been discussed. I found about 6 or 7 questions in there that I had concern with. And I would like to make a motion to send this employee handbook to a committee selected by this Board of Trustees to review it and make the recommendation to the Board of Trustees so that the 7 of us up here aren't going back and forth between what's right and what's wrong in the handbook.
Makes sense.
Full-time elected.
It's up to you.
I would agree with you, Jack, if we could give some sort of inclination to the possible committee. We could point out where we have the problems, and what I'd like to do is ask the board,
Certainly.
do you agree with these changes? We don't have to vote on it, but we can do a consensus. There's no use having all this change, bring it back to us, and we go, nah.
Right.
I think your best is probably the 3-member committee, the 4 members that are not on the committee, provide all their comments and write to that committee to take a look at.
That's a good point.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I went through the whole thing, and what I found is a lot of the words were, omitted that weren't applicable in this day and age because of regulations and laws. And I didn't see a lot of what needed to be changed. Jack may be reading into it a little deeper than I am in terms of what he's searching for. But I thought that whoever did this did a pretty good job to begin with.
I agree, but I think with Jack, myself, even Curtis, when you look at a $10 allowance for breakfast, and we're going to Detroit, Grand Rapids, Traverse City. Anybody that goes in a hotel and orders breakfast, they're going to pay $20 anywhere. And things like that. And, dinner for $20. If you want to get a burger, that's fine. but, myself, I'd rather do away with breakfast, I'd rather do away with lunch and go to Ruth Chris. I'd rather sacrifice it, and I think rather than have, certain amounts for each meal, that just give them a not to exceed number, and if they want to use it, fine, if not, fine.
There are several of those bills that I noticed, that those little minutia things before the sausage is made, a committee should review it with our input versus sitting here all night discussing, for example, 5 minutes late. You have people standing at the counter, the business hours are 8 to 5, and you tell the employee it's okay to be 5 minutes late. I read that. I mean, is that acceptable? Not to me.
Well, there's two things to read into that. It does say you're allowed to be 5 minutes late, but it also says the working hours at the Oxford Township is 8 to 5.
Right. But I have
It needs to be clarified.
It says I can be 5 minutes late.
So there's some clarification needs.
Yes.
Another one is the 5 minute, or excuse me, we'll pay 5 days for jury duty. What happens if the judge says, well, we're going to be 2 weeks? And you go, well, I'm not going. Well, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
You're going to be there. You're going to get out a federal case. To say, we want to encourage people to do their duty, as an American citizen.
To my
If it
point,
takes 10 days, but to put 5 days, but again, there's a lot of that type of stuff in there that we need to kind of go over and put it back to us.
I don't have a problem if you want to explore it further, but I see things like stricken, a sentence, for example, that says failure to sign a written discipline may result in further disciplinary action up to and including termination of your employment. That's something that really doesn't belong in there, and they did strike it out. There's a lot of things in there like that.
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So get those to a committee. All you need to do is assign it to 3 people to a committee to do it.
I'll make a motion that the full-time elected officials are that committee.
Support? Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's myself, Curtis, and Joe.
Thank
We
you.
will report back next month.
And the 4 of you guys that are on the committee, please give us your comments in writing, so we can take a look at them and figure out how we want to
Or
handle it.
email.
Yeah, get this out of our hair. Safety path conditions, number 2 repairs, Treasurer Ferrari.
Board members, as you know, this was brought in front of us before, our safety path repairs. The board wanted to take a look at what we had in our general fund budget, unreserved funds at the end of the 2017 audit. You see that number in front of you. So this is back in front of you for your consideration.
Comments? Motion.
I'll make a motion that the Oxford Township Board of Trustees authorize the 2018 general fund budget amendment, transferring $100,000 from 101,000,402,000 opening fund balance to 101,299,933.297 safety path maintenance.
Moved.
Second?
Seconded. Any other comments? Roll call.
Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Dur.
Yes.
And Trustee Nichols.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that the Oxford Township Board of Trustees authorizes Sharp Engineering to create a change order to the current safety path maintenance contract with Birmingham Seal Coat to address condition number 2, priority repairs, for an amount not to exceed $100,000. These funds are to be expensed from 101,299,933.297 safety path maintenance.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Roll call again.
Trustee Nichols.
Yes.
Trustee Dur.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. And Supervisor Dunn.
Yes. Move on to Park and Rec, Recreation Millage Renewal. Ron, do you have anything to say about this since it's under you?
I do not.
I know, what is your current rate?
Oh, come on.
0.84.
Well, I would suggest that you, rather than go .84, personally, I think you've done such a great job with Park and Rec and the amenities that we now have. I'm talking about with the parks here, the upgrades, the $2 million upgrades, that you go for maybe a $1 mil.
Correct, that's the general feeling.
I would be in favor of that. I'm not sure what the other board might think, but, what they have to realize, because of Headley, you might have started out at one, but, every year it gets cut back. Joe knows all about that.
I've started here in 1995, and that's when they had just passed a mill, maybe a year or two before. As your director for 23 years, I've never operated under one mill. It's been rolling back, and we've never went back and asked for more, but with us taking on the senior center now and some other things, those of you who were there last night, you've seen what we've done in-house to keep our costs down and try to be creative, and I think we're pretty fiscally responsible with the funds that we've had. And yes, it would be, we're not talking a lot of money, but it would certainly help some other things that we'd like to do, or just continue to maintain what we have.
I know the township has been kind enough to kick in $300,000 for the new senior center, and
Right.
I think it's important. We're lacking senior activities. Myself, I'm well beyond senior, and I like to stay active. And with the programs you have out there at the park or wherever, whether it's Stony Lake or any of these parks, it's important. And I think it's important for you to be financially able to maintain, you said you're going to take over the senior center and run the programs and do everything and get it off where we're not going to have to worry about it. I think
Right.
it's important that you have the funding for it.
And Treasurer Farrar, I think the budget for when you guys had the vets hall was like $80,000 a year, $80,000 a year to operate that facility. So we're going to incur costs to have that senior center, charge minimal, if nothing, to our seniors to participate. So, there's got to be a give and take there somewhere, so.
I forgot, it was $75,000 to $100,000 a year we paid into that facility to keep it going.
Right.
And with very little senior participation, whether it be 6 or 8 of them.
So that .16 will help, we're going to get creative with partnerships and collaborations and make sure, but, things aren't getting cheaper.
And we're talking 15 years instead of the 10.
Yeah, 15
Correct?
years. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And Ryan, you're going to keep rolling back.
I know, but Joe, in the 23 years I've been here, I've never asked more than what we need. And
I just want to be, after year 15, you're down to .6.
Well, that's when we'll look at what we're doing and cost of business, and
Okay.
if I'm still your director, then we need to get more creative and find additional funding, or we go back to the voters. But I'm not one to charge more than what we need.
Yes.
Yeah, well, this is just the request to put the proposal on the ballot. Next month, you will see the actual language to be approved, to be put on the ballot. So this is step one of 2. And you received the upgraded motion, an email and a hard copy in front of you.
Does anybody like to try one if they choose?
It's right on the screen if you want to make the motion.
I move to approve the request from the Oxford Township Parks and Recreation Commission to place a millage question on the November 6, 2018 general election ballot to provide funding for the parks in Oxford Township.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any other questions from the board? Questions from the public?
If I may, Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
our current millage expires in 2019, but we're not going to roll the dice, so we want to do it in 18 and give us a buffer.
Noted. Let's do a roll call.
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Dur.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Nichols.
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn.
Yes.
And Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Manitou Lane Engineering Design.
We got elections temporary help.
Oh, we don't care about that.
Curtis does.
I do, because
Well, we'll go back then. We'll do elections.
I did not put anything in the budget for that, but with the change in the election programming from the state of Michigan, this created bigger issues from our department than we anticipated. And I've had temporary help in the clerk's office at the end of June to process absentee ballots. And what I'm approaching the board is to let them know that I'm requesting a budget amendment either now or once we do budget amendments at the end of the year, so that can be something that's not a surprise to this board of.
Do you have a suggested motion?
I can make a motion, or like I said, I can wait till.
Why don't you just do it and we'll make a budget amendment? I mean, we'll just give them the permission to do it and we trust them. We trust you.
So you're aware of it, that you'll see expense and all that.
Okay.
That's fine.
That's fine, too.
Just curious, how much are you thinking about?
Probably, you're looking at probably $6,000 to $8,000
Okay.
of an amendment. Looking at the past, since I've been in office, the temporary help in my department's been about $8,000 total. Prior to that, it was anywhere from $3,000 to $11,000. So it isn't like it hasn't happened in the department, but
Everybody aware of this bill that might be coming up?
I just want to make, and also in the minutes, I did research the minutes, and there was a motion that's on the books that indicates that when the department requires additional part-time temporary help, the department head shall notify the supervisor for approval, and the supervisor shall notify the township board that a part-time employee will be in office for a specific period of time. It was unanimously approved 7-0 back in 1992.
That's what we're doing now, right?
Correct.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
There's no motion.
Don't even have to?
No, you'll do that.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Manitou Lane Engineering Design. I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Jim. I'm gonna have you come up and tell what's happening with maybe a proposed little development, and I want Pete to come up here and say why it's important for us to put this loop down at that lower end.
All right, I'll let Pete talk about the fire stuff, but this is a water main project. It's been part of the township's plan to loop the system from the settlement of Manitou out to M24 to provide redundancy within the system. Right now, it just comes down to the settlement of Manitou and ends there. Anyway, nothing has officially been submitted, but there have been some preliminary discussions, and there was a rezoning application submitted for the parcel of land that is both in Orion Township and in Oxford Township. And that's kind of why this one has come to the forefront. We thought that if there's a development there, we certainly don't want to lose those water tap fees that we could potentially gain from those. And so that was the reason for putting in this water line here. In addition, the developer we've had some discussions, and they may be able to contribute something to that water line itself.
Well, they will develop. They will.
To be determined. But really, it's an important one. It was part of the original bond, or the original projects back in 2005 that it just never got built. So it's important to be done. And right now, we're just moving forward with some engineering. Depending on the developer, we may be able to save a little bit of money. They might be able to provide us some of the survey information. But right now, our fee is we'd be asking for $23,600 to do the survey, to do the design work, and to get it to a point where we could take it out to bid at that time. And I'll let Pete talk about the fire issue.
57, where do you get the 23.6?
Excuse me?
That's for construction drawings and all that.
I can address that if you want. The total for fees is 50-some thousand, includes permitting and things that won't happen until Jim gets the drawings to completion to apply for those things.
Yeah.
So
The total project cost is estimated, over $300,000. But at this
the
point,
engineering portion you looked at includes things that Jim's not going to be doing until he gets the plan done and we come back to this board with a recommendation to do it. We're just getting it shovel ready.
Yeah.
So you want 23.6 then?
24.
Correct.
not
For
to exceed
engineering,
24,000.
topo, some easements and some geotechnical borings right now.
Pete, can I have you come up here and tell us why we need this?
Back before I became chief even, I sat on a couple committee meetings with Chief Leroy at the time, and that was back when Rowe Engineering was involved with it and Shannon and everything. And we addressed that as a concern at that point because where the water main ends right there, it's a dead end right at the eastern end of Manitou development right there. Our flows that we have from the last flow is right around 600 gallons a minute is all we're getting out of there at that point. Also, when you jump across 24 to the Hills of Oxford development over there, it's the exact same situation that we're running into down at that end. If this loop was put into place like we wanted to back then, the net greatly increases the flow and it creates a circle all the way around it, because then the water comes down 24 to Hills of Oxford, and now we would be coming right directly from the plant, coming right down into there to help create the flow. So the best of both worlds is to get that loop from both ends.
Health, safety, and welfare.
Health, safety, welfare. Again, the situation we ran into a year ago when we had the main water break out there by the fire hall there on Newman Road. Again, when you start trying to shut the system down in places and isolate different areas for leaks and everything. Again, this now gives you a better chance to backfill or backflow the situation if you have to, in case you get a leak in one way or the other. So it creates a safety factor all the way around for everybody. So
We also have an agreement with Orion Township for an emergency connection at M24 and Indian Lake Road.
correct.
So that's another,
The other big plus for me is it gets us water there for the apartments, which is right there on the top part of the picture right there. There is no water down that area, so anything we would do down there would have to be a hose lake coming all the way from Manitou again, which is going to be low, and/or it's tanker shuttle, as in when we did the church fire down there years ago, that was all tanker shuttle that we had to haul for that thing. So again, this would help for ISO ratings and everything else too. So it's a great
and help
plus.
with the cost of their insurance,
Absolutely.
having hydrants there.
I make a motion.
Yes.
I move to authorize Sharp Engineering to provide engineering design plans for water main construction on Manitou Lake at a cost not to exceed $24,000. The engineering design plan fees to be expensed to Water Fund account 591-538-821-000. Engineering fees, general.
The word is Manitou Lane.
Manitou Lane.
Did I say lake?
Yes.
Okay. I'll amend that to read Manitou Lane.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions? Roll call.
Trustee Nichols?
Yes.
Trustee Ger?
Yes, aye.
Clerk Wright, yes.
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
And Trustee Curtis?
Yes.
This is exciting stuff here. RU, Resident Equivalent Unit, RU Factor, Schedule Update.
Let's go over the whole chart.
Let's go over the whole chart, line by line.
And we?
We do not, we could go over
Look,
the whole
we got
chart
them-
if you
We
want.
got them scattering here.
Way to scare 'em.
Whole chart. Mr. Supervisor, Chairman, do you want to dial in, or do you want me to just to
No,
go
go ahead, Jim. You're doing a great job. You saved me the last one, too.
So an REU schedule, everybody knows what that is, I'm assuming?
Nope.
An REU schedule is what we charge different, one home is one REU, right?
Residential.
You figure an average home uses X amount of gallons of water, and then all of these use types that we have before you are ones that are not residential homes, and so we try to equate them to how much water usage they consume. So it's been changed a couple times. The last time was over a decade ago. The WRC recently has upgraded theirs. You guys run a kind of similar to theirs, but we do deviate from them in some areas. We have done some very significant research on this, and in the areas that we do deviate from the county, we think that if anybody challenged us, that we have, we're in the right. We have a very good argument. A couple of things that have changed on there, I don't know if we want to point them out. The mobile homes, which are currently at 0.85, we've been able to get the water data from the county there, and they're going to be bumped up to 1.0. Condos that are currently at 0.6 will be bumped up to 1.0 REUs. Apartments remain the same. We kind of restructured some of the use types in there, but all in all, everything has remained the same or close to what it was. One item that Kurt didn't have the most updated spreadsheet here, so there is another use type in there called office that I accidentally omitted, which is 0.4 REUs per 1,000 square feet. It has not changed. I just forgot to put it on that one, so it's slightly different from yours. So I think what we're doing at this point is we're asking for this board to, to approve these, to adopt these. Our discussion in committee was that they wouldn't be implemented until the beginning of 2019. Is that correct, Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
And
Then at that time, those mobile home communities will go up to that new schedule.
Yes.
correct. And any new use type, so any developments that come in prior to that would fall under the existing use categories, but beginning January 1 of 19, if new detached condos come in, instead of the 0.6, they're going to be charged 1.
Why wouldn't we make this effective now?
Well,
It gives everybody a chance.
gives everybody a chance to get warned and
If you start a development and you go to a bank for need some money, all of a sudden, you put a big upcharge on them, it's not fair to the developer or whoever.
giving people an opportunity to budget for it too out to the end of the year. Water and Sewer Committee recommended this at the last meeting, that we adopt this new REU schedule. Its recommendation was based on significant comparison data that Jim's engineering group did, where it compared like businesses and its consumption of water to what we charge, and we raised and lowered some of them so that everybody, like the word says, equalized or equaled out to a fair share in what they use in water. For example, what's an REU, 175?
Average home in Oxford uses about 175 gallons of water in the wintertime.
In the wintertime in the month. So we compared that to Lake Villa. They use the same. We compared that to condominiums. They use the same. But yet, the schedule that had been adopted by the WRC 10 years ago, we were using less than that. So it was not an opportunity missed. It's just being fair and equal to all who use the water system.
And the WRC also, in their new schedule that they're going to make effective, some of their unit factors are per fixture. They may, they were just kind of all over the place. They might do barber shops by square feet, and they might do beauty shops by a booth, or by a square foot. I mean, it was all over the place. We wanted to try to be consistent and something that was easy for everybody. Per employee, I mean, I don't know about you, but employees change, right? So how do you assign somebody up based on per employee when one day they might have 20 and 2 years later they might have 30? I don't know.
I move that an updated residential equivalent unit factor schedule based on the water and sewer usage information complied by Sharp Engineering be effective January 1st, 2019, and to send letters to the businesses that will be affected by the change in the residential equivalent unit calculation of their water and sewer bills.
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions? Yes.
Just a comment to make sure that schedule will include the offices.
I will get you
That was not in the packet.
I will get you the latest and greatest. We'll talk about it. I don't know if you want the one that's all in color and things like that
we
you
do.
have.
Cost more.
I can give you whatever you want, but yes, the office will be included in there.
Okay.
Yes.
You don't pay a water bill. Moved, supported, roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Trustee Dur.
Yes.
Trustee Nichols.
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn.
Yes.
Clerk Wright. Yes.
More exciting stuff, the engineering design standards.
Begin with the water and sewer stuff.
You are.
Yeah, we even took you off for one.
All right. Engineering design standards. These are basically site-related items. We have our book here. It's just like a zoning ordinance, or kind of like a zoning ordinance, but it just relates to sewers, the sanitary sewers, the water main, your roads. It tells you about your slopes, tells you about things that you guys probably don't care about. You just want to see, the pretty picture when it's all done in a nice building that you can get to. But the one that we're working off of is, it's over a decade old, and as you can see in my memo, is that in the packet, Kurt, the June 28th letter? Yeah. We just need to update these, just like a zoning ordinance or a master plan type thing, to reflect some of the new technologies. Like, we use a lot of plastic pipe out there now in, say, parking lots and so forth. We do allow that. Technically, it doesn't exist in the book right now. And so things have changed, since the last update.
You're going to bring our design standards up to what current technology and materials available to the community to use.
Consistency. We call this Ordinance 106. If you go on to the Township's website, because they codified it a year ago, it's Section 42, so none of our numbers match. So we still tell somebody to go look at Section 2.10 for their as-built requirements. They don't know where to find it because it's someplace else on the website. Updating things to be consistent. We still call it the Oakland County
Drain Commission.
You know, it's no longer, it's the Water Resources Commission. Just little things like that we find, and just a lot of inconsistencies through the book as we go through it. And so it's just something that, in our opinion, needs to be done, and we've discussed it in committee on multiple occasions.
Jim, does this take in Chief's request for the new hydrant that he wants?
The hydrants,
design standards?
well, yeah, because we'll update a couple of the detail sheets. Like we use, the township now does its own soil erosion. You don't even have a soil erosion detail sheet. We still use the counties from years ago. But yes, it will include the detail sheets.
Okay.
I move to authorize Sharp Engineering to update the engineering design standards to the Oxford Charter Township Code of Ordinances at a cost not to exceed $18,000. The not to exceed $18,000 amount to be expensed to general fund unallocated account 101-299. Is this 804 right? I thought it was 801. I don't know. Unallocated 804-000 codification of ordinance.
Support.
Is it?
Moved and supported. Yeah, Curtis.
If you're not comfortable, you can just take the account number out. And
I don't know, it just didn't sound right, but I don't have my computer.
Just say the title of the account.
you just say the title.
Yeah, just take the account number out.
General fund allocated account.
Yep. That,
Codification
I always thought it
of
was 802 or something.
That's fine.
Any other questions? Roll call?
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Trustee Nichols.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes?
Supervisor Dunn.
Yes.
Trustee Dirk.
Yes.
Thank you for paying attention to my very important engineering items tonight.
Move on.
I wanted you to baffle him with terms.
Should have brought coffee.
Now, Jimmy, hit your quota on engineering stuff now for the year.
I wanted him to give you things like that.
Okay, let's move on to other exciting stuff.
RTA.
The RTA. We have someone that might be interested in what we're doing. Anybody want to talk about it? Anybody?
No.
Supervisor Dunn.
Hey, it's all here in the resolution.
I'm the one that
Do we have
almost...
to read the resolution?
No.
Okay.
Only thing we did different, guys, than other communities do, is we added a paragraph in there that, whereas the township feels the RTA needs to explore a different funding mechanism, exclusive of the local property tax. All the other ones that have come through the resolutions keep
Well, we
saying,
could definitely have a
Property tax.
community center for that amount of money, couldn't we? I move to approve the resolution in opposition to taxing local government/residents for the Regional Transportation Authority millage proposed for the November 6, 2018 general election as presented.
second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments on the RTA?
Yeah, they'll kick you off their website if you don't like them.
As our esteemed supervisor knows, I'm the chairman of the Tax Policy Committee, and we held a hearing on an opt-out piece of legislation just before the in-district work period. So that's one of a myriad of options we're looking at to, regardless of how you slice it, ensure that the out and northern townships aren't subjected to this 1.5 mils, even though my understanding is that this will not appear on the November ballot. For posterity's sake, we really need to take a look at this now while we have the leadership at the helm that is on the same page that we are up here in North Oakland. And so it's very important we continue to express our will, and I think it's great that that the board is engaging with a resolution of its own.
Jim, also, as you're talking about tax policy, we're getting a lot of universities, colleges, hospitals clamoring for it. If they want to clamor for it, make sure to remove their tax exempt status.
There you go.
If Beaumont wants it, have them remove their tax exempt status. Have them pay a couple $1 billion towards this.
Right.
It might change their thinking.
There you go.
Remember, it's always easier to spend OPM, other people's money.
Exactly.
So if all these people want it, these nonprofits, have them pay for it.
Right.
Then come back to us, maybe ask us for $250,000.
Right.
Yes, Curtis.
What I'm hearing, Representative Tedder, is you're saying it's not going to be on the November ballot?
My understanding is that it will not be moving this year, so on the November 18 ballot.
So we need to revise them?
No, we can leave it just like that.
We can.
Yeah, and
I'm comfortable with that.
so, you know, there's really two things going on. It'll either be opt-out legislation or right-sizing legislation that will shrink the footprint, that will exclude the northern counties, certainly within Oakland, what we're concerned with, but parts of Macomb as well.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's do a roll call.
Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Dur.
Yes.
And Trustee Nichols.
Yes.
Okay, the last one. BSNA Online.
Board members, as you know, we've kind of eliminated mailing out tax bills, kind of effort to save postage. The last 2.5 years, BSNA's not charged us for the service. They went and reviewed their records, found it was an error at their end. So we're basically getting it for free for 2.5 years. So basically, now they're going to charge us, which I guess is a cost doing business. And the way we looked at it is, we've got everybody going to the website now to get all this information. We hate to have them go through all these hoops and, jump through all these hoops to get the stuff they need.
This charge, is it still less than the mailing cost?
No.
It's still more, but still, probably as we grow, it'll end up, washing out anyway.
So the postage was $2,900 and the fee from BSNA is $4,200?
But there's a point though to,
Well, you've got people's hours to put all this together, so that 29 is not quite right.
not just postage itself, not considering your labor and fringes.
Envelopes, paper, time.
I move to approve the purchase of the BSNA Online Public Record Search Module at the quoted annual service fee in the amount of $4,200 to be effective July 12, 2018. This $4,200 annual fee and future annual service fee increases based on the Consumer Price Index, CPI, to be expensed to General Fund Unallocated Account 101-299-933-000, Equipment Maintenance.
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Where do we bill or pay for all of the costs for mailing of our taxes? What account does that come out of?
General?
Some of it comes out of the treasurer's office. Some of
Why
it
are
comes
we
out of the
taking all this out of unallocated account?
Curtis?
The reason why it's in that account is the other BSNA modules are expensed to that fund. So it's just matching up with your accounts payable, your utilities, your general ledger, your building department modules. That's why it was put there.
Curtis, you always got an answer.
Thank you, Curtis.
Right around.
Roll call.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Trustee Nichols.
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Dur.
Yes.
And Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Let's move on. Public comment. Any public comment? Joanne?
Get rid of that.
Talk about your vacation? Let's move on to the Board of Trustee comments. We'll start with Jack.
I have no comments. I'm too uncomfortable. I'll go to that.
Margie?
Nothing.
Joe? I might have to do a do-over, so I'll just keep moving.
Yeah, the election is August 7th, and if you need an absentee ballot, we're open for business.
Patty?
I'm good.
Two things. I'm somewhat sensitive to what Joe was saying about the privacy issue that we talked about, but I know it is what it is. We have to go along with what the state requirement and federal regulations are. The other thing is that Mr. Tedder seems like he's all over the place. He's like Houdini. He visited our home and talked to my wife. I missed him, but she told me all about him, and I guess he convinced her to put a sign out front. So, glad to meet him finally.
I won't embarrass you, Jim.
All right, it's kind of funny.
Jim came to my neighborhood in a new truck with no license plate, parked it in front of my house. I didn't know whose it was. I called the cops. He met two of our fine deputies.
They're great deputies, too.
It worked out well for him.
Good response.
Okay, I don't have anything. Would there be a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done.